Carol, thanks very much. Have you ever wondered how much work goes into the making of a Hollywood celebrity? Well, our next guest, the PR guru Mark Borkowski, has an answer, and it comes in the form of a mathematical equation.
We won't share it with you. We'll talk to him about it because Mark's worked with clients including Eddie Izzard, Joan Rivers and Macaulay Culkin, as well as Judy there as well. And their success, of course, speaking for itself. Well, his book, The Fame Formula, tells the story of the publicity kings that greased the Hollywood machine. And Mark here to tell us how. Good morning. Good to see you.
Hi, Kate.
And you go back a fair way. You talk about the movie stars of old, really, and how things haven't changed that much in terms of the PR machine.
No, what I thought was important was just my trade are very good at actually claiming modern forms of sort of publicity, and I thought this doesn't really start with us. You know, this obsession, particularly in the last 10 years, about celebrity and fame. Where did it all begin? So I spent a 7-year journey going right the way back to the beginning, which I think really roughly starts with the great circus entrepreneur Phyllis T. Barnum. And it became an incredible eye-opener for me about the ingenuity and the creativity of people over the years to develop fame.
And by developing fame, a lot of it was about sort of publicity stunts and getting people's faces in the papers in unusual ways.
Yeah, it clearly decided that people wanted icons, wanted people they could worship. And of course, as the film business exploded, particularly in the silent movie era, they were coming up with quite ingenious things, you know, lions in rooms, you know,
ice boxes being sold to Eskimos,
yeah, all that, and the control of it. Interestingly now, everybody seems to think they know how to make it work, but those guys respected that, in fact, if you didn't get it right, fame could actually eat you away, so they protected their clients from that.
And the same sort of issues, really, when you look back at some of the stories that, you know, the same old things with affairs, with drug taking, all being covered up, and in all sorts of ingenious ways, buying off journalists, goodness forbid.
Well, yeah, Joan Crawford's pornographic film was actually sold. I mean, Barbara Lamar, the great silent movie actress, was Amy Winehouse. Exactly the same sort of thing, destroyed by fame. Well, not Amy's been destroyed yet, but I mean, that whole
Is this the one that was classed as having died of tuberculosis, and yet it was really
Yeah, Lupe Velez, who was covered up that she took an overdose when her affair ended and ended up falling into a toilet, and yeah, it was just horrible, but they never allowed those stories. Now, the media want to get at the underbelly. They want to expose it all. There was much more of a relationship between the media and a lot of backhanders and bribery going on. And the media was a lot more, how should you say, immature at that time, where we've got the net now that if whatever your mistake is, it's across the world in a second.
Yeah, it's much more sensitive business now in that respect. Is there a difference between a publicist and a PR person?
Well, I think a publicist, not so much now. Then it was very much a case of how do we make our celebrity big now. Francis X. Bushman is one of the great silent stars, fantastic stories. Publicist who came up with this great scam that when he walked from Central Station to the offices of the company who were going to give him the job, the publicist persuaded they had a huge following and created a coat that dropped money. So by the time he left Grand Central Station, there was a huge crowd following him, and they laid out. There's a guy called Harry Reichenbach who was just extraordinary, one of the truly great extraordinary.
And we come to the modern day, and we talked about this fame formula, where there is a formula that you've put together, but essentially you say that whereas Warhol would have had us having 15 minutes of fame, you've actually worked it out. It's roughly about 15 months. You talk about Jade Goody in the book towards the end, saying you didn't think that she could recover from her last Big Brother appearance. I just don't know whether you know how you would update that now in terms of what you think about her.
Well, unfortunately, you know, I think it's probably true. She couldn't. I mean, the sad fact of the matter is that there was a very, very public death, and actually something very positive came out of that death in many words. But I don't think there was anywhere Jane Goody was going until unfortunately, she was afflicted with that terrible cancer.
The basic principle, in your view, is if you do something that makes you famous, that will keep you famous more or less for about 15 months, and then you have to do something else.
And then you need your publicist.
Well, yeah, the audience's attention and the media's attention lasts about 15 months. I gave it over to a mathematician to look at. You know, we follow about 12 or 13 sort of people, and it did peak after 15 months. And the clever people, either intuitively or with the skill of a publicist, did something to sort of peak again and keep on going. If you don't, you're forgotten about.
I wish we had more time, more tales to tell, but we don't, unfortunately. Mark, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
7 minutes to 9. The sound of the cuckoo.